Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. Can't wait to get this one going today. Logan Landers is our producer and engineer, and welcome back to Vincent Turner. Vincent's been out for a few days. Vincent, you want to tell everybody where you've been?
Yes, I was visiting my parents in Memphis, Tennessee for the last 4 days. Had a great time down there. It's always nice to see your family and always reminisce where you're from. Brings back a lot of great memories. And other than that, they was talking college football at a high level. Lane
Well,
Kiffin, University of Memphis, even Mississippi State. And of course, the University of Tennessee with their new quarterback that's going to replace Nico I. Back to you, Hawk.
well, there's a lot to go over, but we want to wish Miss Inez well. I hope you take care of your mama, and I know that you do. So, guys, take care of your moms. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Enough
Yes,
said.
sir.
Okay. Hey,
Yes,
one thing
sir.
that we also want to take care of, if you've got a golf game that might need a little bit of improvement, there's a place to do that. The virtual golf experience is something that is sweeping the nation. You don't have to be out in the hot sun. You don't have to worry about the rain. You don't have to worry about it being too windy, too hot, too cold. Doesn't matter. You can be in an air-conditioned unit like they have at the Nine Golf in Duluth, Georgia. The Nine Golf, if you want to check on your club and ball speed, if you want to look at your launch angle, you want to take care of your spin rate and make corrections to your distance and your trajectory, you can do that at Nine Golf. The TrackMan 4 system and the Golf VX video monitors will take videos of your swing and analyze the shot, the angle, the precision, everything that you would need to know. It's absolutely amazing, and you can self-correct yourself. You don't need to have a whole lot of lessons, although those help, but there are other ways for you to improve your game, and the Nine Golf is one way to get that taken care of. You can book a bay, get lessons, club fittings, and a membership is all available when you go to the Nine Golf, spell out nine, NINE.com. They have their first inaugural golf tournament. It's a virtual experience on September 6th. You can sign up for that. If you're in the area, please do so and tell them that you heard about the Nine Golf through 100 Yards of Football. Also, real quick, we want to mention it's coming up pretty soon on November 1st. It's a Saturday. If you're a bodybuilder or know one that wants to be in Mr. Olympia's qualifying competition, that's the Lee Haney Games. You can be a part of that. Or if you're just a strong dude, there's a deadlift competition, there's calisthenics. You can dance if that's a specific thing that the ladies want to be a part of, or the guys. A kids fit from from 6 to 12. You can be a part of all of that at the Lee Haney Games. Or if you just want to sit and watch all these other people sweat and you just sit and have some popcorn, it's all available to you. Lee Haney Games, go to leehaneygames.com. There is a celebrity golf tournament at the Country Club of Gwinnett that is in Snellville, Georgia. That's on Thursday, October 30th. And the money there is to raise for Haney's Harvest House to help and assist underprivileged kids in the Georgia area. So the leehaneygames.com. We appreciate them being sponsors of the show. And let's get into it, Vincent. There's been a lot that's happened since you and I spoke last. We did a show last week, and the AP has a top 25 that they have just produced. And I'm going to admit to you, there's some teams that are on it right now that I'm kind of interested to discuss. There's some folks that had a really good season last year. We'll look at a few of those. We're also going to look at some of the teams that may come out of nowhere this year, meaning that they were kind of ranked in the middle of the pack, and they've got some guys that are a little bit older. They've taken care of their portal needs and a few other things. So, Vincent, first and foremost, your thoughts initially at looking at the top 25 from the AP poll.
Well, always a lot of teams from the SEC. Kind of surprised they had them many teams, but other than that, the teams that's in there, I think, deserved it. Of course, there's some question marks with Miami being number 10, Carson Beck coming into that situation. But I like the top 25. And, of course, I'm always happy if the University of Tennessee is listed into it. But I was kind of disappointed that my Hogs, the University of Arkansas, didn't receive any votes. But other than that, let's get this football season rocking, man. And it's
Well,
all about what. Go ahead.
let's take a look at the list itself. For those of you that are watching, you can see there's all 25 teams, and there's others to watch, different schools that are initially getting a vote or two, or at least some consideration. They're getting a little love. and we certainly appreciate that. And we're going to go over the first 25 right now. Let's do it in a group of 5, Vincent, if you don't mind. I'm not really going to pick on the order, but we're looking at returning players for obvious reasons, guys that have transferred in from the portal. That's obviously a huge part of the college game right now, and it must be considered for obvious reasons, as well as guys that may have left, that may deplete the roster of any of the schools that we have right here. And experience, of course, and where they were last year has a little bit to do with it, because you've got a bunch of returning lettermen. Absolutely, that's going to make a difference. But I think the biggest thing is going to be at the quarterback position. And where else do you go but Texas right now being in the top slot? It's Texas, Penn State, number 3 is Ohio State, Clemson, and the University of Georgia. That's your top 5 right now. I believe that Texas got 25 of the 64 first place votes, and Penn State got 23. So even folks that may not like Penn State, for example, certainly respect what they're doing, especially if you're a Big Ten voter. If you're Illinois, let's say, or Northwestern, you don't want to vote for those guys, but you have to at least take it into consideration. And to have them have at least one more vote than Ohio State, that's a surprise to me. I think it's a real interesting debate right now. Yes, we all agree nobody's played, Vincent, but we do say, hey, the guys that are loaded right now and they're locked and ready to go, Texas, Penn State, Ohio State, Clemson, and Georgia are your top 5.
Well, I've always been a guy that say, hey, the champion from the previous season should always come in ranked number 1. I was surprised that Ohio State wasn't consensus number 1 based on the fact they won the national championship last year. But I understand. Texas, what more can you say? Arch Manning, the biggest debut of any college football player in my lifetime since his grandfather debuted for Ole Miss back in 1968 against Memphis State. Penn State, Harper, you should love this. James Franklin, you returning everybody except Abdullah Carter, one of the greatest players that ever played at Penn State. You got everybody coming back. You got 2 big stud running backs. Penn State, it's your time to play in the college football playoff game. James Franklin, if you don't get there, hey, man, I don't know what to say. Maybe it's not going to be your time at Penn State. And, of course, Ohio State. They got, with some people saying, the best player in the country, Jeremiah Smith. Only question mark, who's going to replace Will Howard at the quarterback position? Julian Sayon, California kid, everybody's saying is number 1. Then Dabo Swinney. Dabo said this is his best team ever, even when he had Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence under the center. Both of them squads won national championships. Even Dabo said last week that Clemson can go 16-0. There's some mighty words from the former walk-on at the University of Alabama. Yeah. And, of course, locally here, the Dogs have got another great team. C.J. Allen, a lot of people saying it's the best linebacker in the country. The Dogs are loaded at running back. Nate Frazier in his second year, California kid. They're saying he's going to step in the realms of being the next Herschel Walker. But we all know it's about the quarterback, as my lead host, Mr. Harper LaBelle, just said. It's all about Gunnar Stockton, man. How far Georgia's going to go. Back to you, Harper.
Yeah, it's an interesting top 5. I really have no problem with the order that they have right there. It'll all get sorted out. But the fact that Georgia, and you mentioned Clemson, what a good season they had in spite of not having a good season, right? This is going to be one of those years where you looked at Clemson last year, at least 2024, everybody's upset, right? They were 10-4. That's not acceptable anymore at Clemson. That would have been a bowl win and all the other things that are involved with it. But 7-1 in the conference, right? They lose to SMU, and by the way, we'll talk about them in a little bit. But I'm not surprised. Is this more of a rebuild or a reload? I think they're reloading. Agree or disagree with me? What Clemson and Georgia needed to do?
Well, Clemson has got Cade Klubnik, who a lot of people saying is the best quarterback in the country. They got 2 very good NFL high prospects in T.J. Parker and Pete Woods. I really think Dabo believes, in my opinion, that Clemson, they made the playoffs last year. They lost to Texas in the opening round because they couldn't stop the run. But I think this is a Clemson team. If they get past LSU, I think they're going to roll through the ACC and going to be a very big player in the college football playoffs. But they got that huge first big game against LSU, national television, August the 30th, prime time. And then you're looking at Georgia. One more time. We know Georgia's going to be loaded. They got the young man out there, USC, who's one of the most explosive football players in the country, Mr. Branch out of Las Vegas, Nevada. They got Noah Thomas, who's a very experienced receiver from Texas A&M. They got skilled people all over the place, but I'm going to go back to it again. Gunnar Stockton is going to be the guy whether or not Georgia's going to be in the college football playoffs. In the third week in September, we're going to find out what Georgia's all about. Because you want to know why? They're going up to Rocky Top. They're going up to the hill, baby. Back to you, Hawk.
Yep. It was in the past. It was either South Carolina early, Clemson early, or Rocky Top, and they would lose one of those. And most Georgia fans would lose their mind if they had lost any one of those three teams, because to them, knowing that the challenge of playing Florida in the middle of the year and winning the SEC East pretty much goes down the drain if you don't have undefeated season going into Florida. So we'll see how that turns out. Let's go 6 through 10 now, if you don't mind, Vincent. Notre Dame, Oregon. At number 8 is Alabama. You've got LSU. And then you mentioned them a few minutes ago, the University of Miami. The Hurricanes last year were 10-3. Let's start with them. I'm not surprised that they're there. I think they're good. I think everybody that is rooting for them is. I just don't know if that's more of a want desire than I've earned the desire. I just don't know.
Last year, let's be honest, Miami should have made the college football playoffs, having the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft, Mario Cristobal, in my opinion, brother, you on the line because some of your game management, your defense didn't play well in the games that are important. A lot of questions about him, whether or not he can be a head coach at a high level. Remember, he's having the same, I want to say, situations he had at Oregon. Carson Beck, I think he's going to be a guy that's going to produce in that offensive system. Miami has got a real good football team, but again, it's about the coaching with Mr. Mario Cristobal. A lot of question marks whether he can coach a big game or not. And think about this, about Miami. They had everything in front of them. What happened last year, Hop, when they came down here to Atlanta and played at Grant Field? They lost to Georgia Tech. Yes, they should not even came close to losing. So I'm going to leave it at that with the Miami Hurricanes. And they got a pretty good defensive end in Ruben Bain that's going to be a high draft choice. But everything is in front of Miami and Carson Beck. I know a lot of you Georgia fans are upset because he didn't play at a high level. He wasn't really acting with the football. But watching Georgia last year, remember this. A lot of receivers at Georgia dropped a lot of passes. So I'm not going to put it on that young man. I still think he's a high-level NFL talent. And I think Miami's going to be good. But we're going to find out about them when they play Notre Dame the first weekend. Back to you, Hart.
Well, yeah, a lot of points. I really do believe that there's more parity now in the ACC than we've seen in a long, long while. You mentioned Georgia Tech, and there's going to be a couple of Saturdays out there where any team, anybody can beat anybody else because they're good enough to be able to do that now. I don't think there's that same lock. Let's move down to number 9, the LSU Tigers. I think the Bayou Bengals at 9-4 last year, and there were 6 teams in the SEC that ended up going 9-4. I was kind of surprised with that number. They were all kind of blocked together. I'm sorry, 5-3 in the conference. Please forgive me. 9-4. There are only 2 teams. Alabama and LSU was 9-4 overall, but 5-3. That surprised me. That many teams: Missouri, Ole Miss, A&M, South Carolina, and then when you add LSU and Bama. They're all packed in there together. So I don't know what's going to be the separator. You got to have a great quarterback. What is LSU surprising you with in terms of, I'm not sure how they're going to end up, but they've certainly got this, and this going. I think their offensive line is strong. Their linebackers and secondaries have always been fast and aggressive. That will not change. I just hope it improves to the point where they can be at that upper tier of the conference.
LSU. Brian Kelly, you need to get in the college football playoffs because the expectations are high down there. Very disappointed, Mr. Kelly, because remember when he took the LSU job, the first thing he said, I can't win big in Notre Dame. I want to be down here where I can have leverage on recruiting. You know what, Hopper, I didn't know this. LSU has not won a season opener since 2019. 2019 was that magical year when they had, what's the gentleman name playing quarterback with the Bengals that won the Heisman? Joe Burrow.
That'd be Joe Cool. Yeah.
Joe, correct. Then they had another player by the name of Justin Jefferson that's now one of the premier receivers in the game. Then they had Grant Delpit, who's an excellent receiver excellent safety with the Cleveland Browns. And they got the number one receiver right now in all of pro football that won the Triple Crown, in Jamar Chase. And I didn't know this. I was listening to some other people. Don't you know those four gentlemen right there on their second contract in the NFL?
Yeah.
They on their second contract. And LSU hasn't won an opener since then. But I'm going to tell you what, I love the quarterback, Gary Nussmeier. It's proven if you protect him, he can get the football there. They got another NFL receiver, Antonio Anderson. They loaded up in the portal on the defensive side. They got Harold Perkins coming back off a torn ACL, but before then, he was one of the top 3 defensive players in the country. I love this LSU football team. I really do. I think they're going to be one of them teams that go 10-2 and 9-3, but I'm not going to say that until I see them against Clemson. That's going to be a huge football game. But I'm going to say this. Cade Klubnik and Garrett Nussmeier, whatever quarterback has a real outstanding game, Heisman front runner. Back to you, Harper.
Well, Notre Dame, Oregon, and Alabama are also in the top 10. Let's reverse our order a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about the Irish. You know, they go 14-2 last year. 14. They played 16 games. Oh my goodness. I don't think that will have much of a factor where you're going to have what's called the hangover, right? They had it in Atlanta here with the Super Bowl hangover with the Falcons for 2 or 3 years. They kept blaming them for, having a hangover. Notre Dame doesn't have time to worry about stuff like that. But do you think the Irish have the ability to get through on a somewhat weaker non-conference schedule and at least get into the playoff like they did last year with a different quarterback?
Huge game against Miami to open the season. I want to give respect and honor to Marcus Freeman, first of all. When he lost that game against Northern Illinois early in the season, remember, there was a lot of people saying he should be fired before they even play the next football game. That gentleman came under so much pressure, and I understand because he's at touchdown Jesus. But did he not turn that thing around? I'm going to tell you, Notre Dame has got the best running back in the country in Jeremiah Love. Like you said, Hop, they reload, but the question mark, the quarterback position. Last year, Riley Leonard played real well in certain situations that didn't need him to play well against Georgia in the playoffs, against Penn State in the playoffs. But it's going to be a huge answer with Mr. Marcus Freeman. And his job is going to be challenged if Notre Dame loses to Miami early, because that's how they do it over there at Touchdown Jesus. They expect them to win every football game. But my question mark is C.J. Carr, the grandbaby of Lloyd Carr, former head coach in Michigan. If C.J. Carr plays well as Riley Leonard did last year, Notre Dame is going to be all right. They got a lot of talent. Back to you, Hart.
I'm pretty interested. The Riley Leonard phenomenon for me was I'm going to drop back to pass, and I'm going to sling it over the middle. And he was about a 50% completion type guy. If he didn't like what he saw and the linebackers were deep enough, he would tuck and run and get the first down. And the Irish depended on that, really. The second half of that championship game, he did it quite a bit and kind of got him back in the game. But, Ohio State was by far a superior team, and they deserved to win the national championship. Good for them. But with Riley gone, I'm not sure. Are you going to go with a more traditional quarterback? Are you going to go with somebody that is more of a get outside the pocket? It'll be interesting to see how the Irish end up with their new generation of quarterbacks, because I'm sure there's more than one that right now is fighting for game time. But time will tell. We've got a couple weeks before, that big test that you mentioned. Oregon surprised me completely last year, going undefeated entering the Big Ten Conference is first time, winning the West, and then really just having their way until they met Ohio State in the Rose Bowl playoff. They really looked like they were outmanned. They didn't know what hit them. Well, what do you think of Oregon this year? And at least from a preseason perspective, how do they improve on a 13-1 record?
Let's be honest. Did we see Dan Lanning going out there having a lot of success early on, especially after his first game as a head coach when Georgia boat rushed him in their preseason game over there in the Dome about, 3 years ago? And I was really having questions about Dan Lanning. But why should I? I remember when he was a grad assistant at the University of Memphis under Mike Norvell, and I heard he was one of the hardest working guys in the building back in 2015. What he's done at Oregon, I think he's elevated them to a status that they're going to be here season in, season out. Think about what he's done the last couple of years. Bo Nix came into the system. Bo Nix ended up being a first-round NFL draft pick. Dylan Gabriel came in the system. They win the Big Ten championship last. They go undefeated in the conference, even though they got boat raced in the Rose Bowl and got knocked out of college football playoffs. Now he's bringing a man from UCLA, a guy that was a hell of a high school quarterback, and Dante Moore. So when I look at Oregon and I look at Dan Lanning, I got a lot of love and respect. In long as Phil Knight is living with that Phil Knight money, Oregon is going to be competitive. But I didn't think Dan Lanning, when they hired him as a head coach, I didn't know whether or not he can keep the Oregon pipeline going for them being competitive. But Oregon is for real. Think about it one more time, Harp. They went undefeated in the Big Ten last year with Ohio State and Penn State and the Indiana team that was pretty good. Back to you, Harp.
Yep, we'll talk about Indiana in just a minute. But Alabama basically rolls out the middle of that second five that we're going to talk about. So Notre Dame, Oregon, Alabama, LSU, and Miami. Real quick, give me your thoughts about Roll Tide.
Leonard Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama. Alabama fan base, probably one of the most rabid, expectational fan bases I ever been around. And granted, they had a lot of history. And Nick Saban leaving, that threw in everything. I kind of like in a crazy situation. All I can say is this. The name Ty Simpson, young man from Martin, Tennessee, a former 4-star quarterback. He's going to be the guy that's going to be driving the bus. A lot of pressure on him because Caleb DeBoer, I love you as a head coach, man. I love what you did at Washington. But let's be realistic here, Harper. 9-4 at Alabama, with the talent they get in, year out, that's not going to be accepted. And remember what I said on the show last year. I got this from an Alabama fan on one of the shows. He said, we went from Beyonce to Whoopi Goldberg. Back to you, Harp.
Yes.
Say it one more time. The Alabama program, it went from Beyonce to Whoopi Goldberg.
Gets me every time, Vincent. You get me every time you do that. All right. Arizona State, Illinois. How about Illinois? We're going to talk about them right now in the preseason. And Gamecocks, look at that. They were disappointed that they didn't get into the playoff last year. Go Blue. They're at 14, Michigan is. And then this is the biggest surprise for me right now. I'm not surprised that Florida is in it, but I am surprised that it's been a while since we talked about Florida in the same manner. They go 8-5, excuse me. And they weren't ranked. Everyone else above them was in the SEC. You got Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, LSU, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Missouri. Goodness gracious. A&M finished in front of them a little bit, but this is a surprise for me. Where do you want to begin with this third group of 5, 11 through 15?
I don't want to jump all over the place, but a lot of people out there that hasn't been following 100 yards of football. I'm a very talented lead host, California guy, 11-year veteran. I'm going to give y'all a little secret. He loves the Illinois team. He loves that quarterback, Luke Altmaier. And when you look at it, this might be a team that gets into the college football playoffs. I don't know when they play Indiana, but they play Indiana early, and I predict the winner of that game is going to be in the college football playoffs. Just give y'all a little tidbit. Once again, my lead host, Harper LaBelle, he loves the Illinois squad, and he loves their quarterback.
Well, let's break that down for just a second. It's Illinois, and they normally, everyone, that's what they say. The PSST, that's what they say. They go 10-3 last year. They go 10-3. So guess what? I'm happy for them. I think it's great. They were ahead of Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, the USC Trojans, Rutgers, Washington Huskies, UCLA Bruins, Nebraska Cornhuskers, Michigan State, Wisconsin. They're all looking up at Illinois, and they get their quarterback returning. They've got a good offensive line. They can run the ball. They can play in the warm and the cold. Tell me why I'm wrong. And for somebody to give a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year run with the Penn States, Ohio States, and the Indianas now, I'm all for it. I think it's great. So I'm happy for Illinois.
No question about it. I love Brett Bielema. Was a former head coach at Arkansas. I could not understand why that didn't really work out, because he had Arkansas playing real hard-nosed football, and situation didn't work out. Things went off the wire. But man, him in Illinois right now, Illinois to me has a good chance of being a team that can get, I'm gonna say it one more time, get in the college football playoffs, but they can cause some damage. I consider them to be the Indiana of 2025, and they're gonna prove that when they match up with Indiana head to head. Back to you, Harv.
Let's go Arizona State. Here's another school, first year in the conference. They come from out west. You know, they were a middle of the pack, maybe above average Pac-12 team. You know, could beat just about anybody. And how'd that turn out for you last year? You know what I mean? You just they did a great job in the Big 12. They go 11-3. Cam Scadaboo's gone, but they've got a lot of returners right there. They got some speed, some size. And now they've got some experience. I'm pretty excited if I'm a Arizona Sun Devil fan. I really am. I think that, you know, you got to compete with Iowa State, BYU, and CU isn't what they were. So maybe Baylor, maybe Kansas State, and we'll talk about them in just a few seconds. There's some other teams that they got to mess with. But Arizona State, everybody's saying, you know what? You guys are for real, and you're here for a purpose.
What you think about Arizona State is this right here. They were picked to finish last. Came out of nowhere and won the Big 12. Kenny Dillingham, Arizona State guy, got to give him credit. One of the best young coaches in all of college football. And think about this. Hines Ward is the wide receiver coach. And Jordan Tyson, who was hurt last year in the playoff game against Texas, didn't play it down. Some people are saying he's the best receiver in the country. But what I like about Arizona State, I call him Jake Plummer too. Sam Levitt, a guy that came out of nowhere. And when it's all said and done, we talk about all these great quarterbacks right now. On the landscape of 2025, Sam Levitt might be the best quarterback of them all. I like the Sun Devils, baby. Danny White, John Jefferson coming back, baby. Bernie Maxwell, Mike Richardson. I love what they're doing out there. And think about this, how blessed we are at 100 yards of football. My man, I hate to keep bringing him up, the lead host, the handsome guy, Mr. Hopper LaBelle, his former teammate, Chris Miller, Coach Sam Levitt in high school. Back to you, Hop.
Well, let's go southeast here. Gamecocks. They were 9-4 last year, screaming, hey, you got to let us in. You got to let us in. They've always got size. They've got speed. They've got skill position players. They've got big guys. They've got small guys. They got everything. I just don't think they have the depth that LSU has or Alabama has or maybe even Florida. Is that changing?
Hey, you got to give credit, man. They lost a lot of people, like you said, but the one thing, and I give credit to Frank Beamer's little baby boy, Shane Beamer. When he took the job, a lot of people saying, he might not be there for the next 3 or 4 years. And I remember what Shane Beamer said his first year. They played Georgia, and Georgia handled them pretty well. And he said, Georgia supposed to win because they're getting 5-star talent. But everything changed last year for South Carolina. They won in the portal. And you know what? They got a special talented quarterback. A lot of people saying he might be the best in the country, Lenoir Sellers. And I remember somebody down at Alabama on their radio network was making fun of him remember he was wearing glasses or goggles, but you weren't saying at the end of the year when he beat Clemson. You weren't saying at the end of the year when he beat A&M. And remember about the Gamecocks. They don't have a lot of depth, like you said, Harvey, but they first 22, They got several guys that are going to be high NFL talent. And they probably might have the best D lineman in the country in Dylan Stewart. I'm going to say this. We're going to find out a lot about the Gamecocks when they go down to LSU on a Saturday night in October. I expect they're going to be 5-0. And that game right there is going to tell us a lot about Shane Beamer. And the one thing about Shane Beamer that I like out of all the SEC coaches, he don't do no talking. The Gamecocks, their action last year speaks volumes for me. They had LSU on the ropes, lost that game. They played Alabama to the tilt in Tuscaloosa. They came back and blew the doors off A&M, and they beat Clemson at Clemson. And that young man, Mr. Sellers, made some plays that was special. Back to you, Hawk.
Well, you got Michigan, Florida. I can't tell the difference between the two. If one is 14 and one is 15, that's going to be okay with me. Michigan last year they couldn't run, but they end up beating Ohio State at the end of the year and really surprised everybody, in my opinion, by doing so. It's like, hey, we're still here. We're still here. We won the national championship the year before. We've got a bunch of guys that know what it means to win, and we did when we needed to. The Florida portion of this is just a little bit different because I hope they get better. They hope they get better. And they're leapfrogging Missouri, Ole Miss, A&M. There's a few teams in front of them, but they appear to be in a position where they've got the speed. They always have. They've got the size, and now they've got enough depth in terms of guys that come back with some experience.
Start with Michigan right quick. Mr. Moore, it's your second year. It's unacceptable going 8-5 in Michigan. I don't care what conference you in. I don't care who's came into the conference. But Michigan paid a lot of money to get the number one player in the country in Bryce Underwood. And they bring back one of the best safeties in Rob Moore. The heat is on in Michigan. You got to get to the college football playoffs this year, Mr. Moore, the head coach. With the Florida Gators, early on last season, there was bets taken on how long Billy Napier will last through the season. Remember that? They say he'd be fired the 5th game of the year, 6th game of the year. But Coach Napier, I like him a lot. Former head assistant at the University of Alabama. He said, you know what? I'm gonna ride my life on that freshman quarterback out of Texas, DJ Ledway. And that saved his job. And Florida turned it around going 8-5 and had a huge win over Ole Miss. But the Gators got one of the toughest schedules in the country. But I'm going to say this about Florida. As you said, Hawk, they got a lot of talent. And I expect Florida, with a little luck here and there, they can easily be making some noise in the SEC. But their schedule is real, real tough, Hawk. Back to you.
Yeah, always is. All right, well, let's sneak on through to the next group of 5. At 16, you got SMU, then Kansas State. I'm actually I'm excited to see the Wildcats there. Good for them. Oklahoma is next, A&M, and then we finished the top 20 with Indiana. I'm not going to be surprised with Indiana there. I'm really not. It was a surprise to see them at the end of the season last year. For them to be there now, I give them credit for that. But I'm not disappointed. If I'm an Indiana Hoosier fan, I'm going, okay, do you recognize us? You sure do. We don't have at the bottom, and we're certainly not at the top, but we're somewhere in the middle. If they put them at 17, I don't care. I really don't. You got to put them somewhere, though, and that's the thing about it. You got to put them somewhere, and they did. So Oklahoma is a surprise to me because I was a little disappointed if I'm an OU fan. They go 6-7 last year. You were talking about not exceeding expectations. What are the folks in Oklahoma saying right now about where we finished last year as comparison to where we're going this year?
Start with Oklahoma. Again, expectations are real high. Venables in his first year, he went 10-4. They've kind of took a step back in the SEC their first 2 years. Let's face reality here. Coach Venables don't win at a high level this year and they don't make the playoffs. He's not going to be the head coach in Oklahoma. They have brought in a pro guy to be their general manager, Mr. Jim Nagy. But the key to Oklahoma is that, again, it comes back to the quarterback. I like the quarterback they got in the portal, John McTeer, Washington State. Threw for a lot of yards last year. Had an outstanding game against the rival Washington, which put him on the map. And remember this name, Jaden Art. running back out of California. That's going to be huge for the Sooners. And the Sooners are going to put a nice defense on the field. When you look at overall, it's all about Venables. I'm rooting for Coach Venables because I think he's a very good football coach. But like you said, when you look at Oklahoma, it's always going to be expectations no matter what. Barry Switzer, Scott Case, the Bars, Billy Sims. So that's where we at with the Sooners. Boomer Sooner.
Yeah. Let's quickly go through the bottom portion of the top 25. Number 1, Ole Miss. Number 21, the first one in this group that we have. Iowa State, Texas Tech. That's a surprise for me. Tennessee, and then it finishes out and rounds out with Boise State. Any surprises here?
Not really. I think maybe Texas Tech, because Joey McGuire was an outstanding high school football coach in the state of Texas. He always said that he was going to get a football program going into the national championship level, whichever school he got at. And now he's at Texas Tech. And one thing, Texas Tech spent a lot of money in the portal. I think they was the school that spent the most money. They got a former player that's a billionaire in that war business in the state of Texas. But they got a very interesting football player who a lot of people saying is going to be the best defensive player in the country, and David Bailey, who they got from Stanford. If I had to say a surprise, I'm surprised to see Texas Tech there at 24. Ranked there. But of course, I'm happy with my Tennessee Vols being 24. Josh Heupel, I think, is one of the top 10 coaches in all of college football. Boise State, Max Madison, you don't have Ashton Gente, but a lot is going to be on your shoulders. And then when you look at Iowa State, Andy Beckett, baby son Rocco Beckett, hey, Iowa State is going to be a really, I think, surprise team. But they got a huge game against Kansas State. Avery Johnson versus Rocco Beckett, two of the better quarterbacks in the country. And then, of course, Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. Jackson Dart is doing this thing up there on Broadway with the New York Giants. But a lot of people are saying Austin Simmons is going to be way better than Jackson Dart. Remember that drive he had against Georgia, Austin Simmons, Florida boy. Hey, no problems with the final bottom of the AP 25. Back to you, Hawk.
Others receiving votes: BYU, Utah, Baylor, Louisville, Southern Cal, Georgia Tech, Missouri, Tulane, Nebraska. Any of those surprises for you?
Not really. I think Georgia Tech has a great chance of being a surprise team in making the college football playoffs. I think they got a great chance of making some noise in the ACC. Haynes King is a very, very excellent football player. Jamal Haynes, one of the better returning football players in the country in the running back position. And we're going to find a lot about Georgia Tech when they go up there and play your former teammate, primetime Deion Sanders in Colorado that Friday night in the first weekend of college football, week 1.
Yeah, it's interesting. Colorado received 1 vote for others receiving votes. So I'm not sure if that was one from them. You know, they voted for themselves, but it doesn't matter. Louisiana Lafayette, which is the only Sun Belt representative, Army, they had a great year last year. They're not quite as high as Navy. TCU, Pitt, Iowa, James Madison, Auburn, Toledo, UNLV, Florida State, and boy, it'd be nice to be a Seminole fan and say that we've made it back from the ashes. And some school in the 901, they're called I can't spell. How do I say that, Vincent? Memphius. Is that what it is?
Let me correct you.
Please do. Please.
It's the University of Memphis, formerly Memphis State. Keith Simpson, Eric Harris, former first-round picks, Paxton Lynch, and D'Angelo Williams. Very surprised they got votes though, but they saying they're supposed to be the best team in the AAC. Ryan Silverfield, the head coach, I like what you're doing, baby. You keep Memphis relevant. And very proud of the University of Memphis receiving votes in the AP. And I would be ballistic here if they make it to the college football playoffs and be that Power 5 school this year. What would that do for the city? It'll make me a very happy man. Back to you, Hawk.
It's a shame that you don't talk about Memphis and your love for it. You know, you should really consider doing that a little bit more. That's all I'm saying. All right, we want to look at a couple of the teams that are in this. Hold on a second. We got the University of Texas. They're listed as number one. Hey, Vincent, let's take a couple of seconds. Let's go through their schedule. They open up in the Horseshoe. Are you kidding me? Now, it's a very similar stadium to what they have, but instead of it being burnt orange, it's going to be scarlet and cream and whatever, silver. But that is on, that's a national game. It's going to be on Fox, 12:30 Eastern time. That's on the 30th. That's when really the season rolls. It's not week 0, but it's week 1. And they open up with the Buckeyes. That, to me, is one of those games where you always work out with an extra rep, an extra set, an extra run. You do a little bit more to get ready. And I'm talking about both sides of the ball now. There's no way that a Buckeye isn't doing extra running to get themselves ready to play the Longhorns.
Man, when you think about Texas, I didn't realize this, Hawk. Do you know this is the first time they ever been ranked number 1 in the school history in all their 119 years of college football?
In the preseason, yeah, it's amazing.
Is that amazing? Man, I never thought that. The first time ever in 119 years of their school history. But what can you say about Texas? The anticipation I mentioned earlier is Arch Manning. Man, I've never seen a quarterback hyped in much anticipation than this young man coming into college football. And when you think about the Texas Longhorns, you think about Vince Young, his great run in 2005. You think about the 69 team with James Street. But now it's all about Arch Manning. And Steve Sarkisian, I want to give you credit. We got there the first year, we went 5-7. But let's be realistic. He's put them on the map. And the only thing when I give it back to you, Hawk, I don't know why anybody can't be successful coaching the Longhorns in the state of Texas. I know SMU had some success, TCU in the years, Texas A&M under Coach Sherrill, and I ain't throwing no marbles and no strikes at you, Coach Sherrill. But the number 1 school in the state of Texas, and Texas is a big state, it's always going to be the Longhorns. Money, Earl Campbell, Bevo. Back to you, Hawk.
Yeah. They're number 1 there, and they know it. And it's okay that Baylor and Tech and TCU, like you mentioned, Rice, SMU, all have great teams. Even University of Texas San Antonio got some really good athletes, but they all want to be Longhorns. I think every last one of those kids, if you were to ask them. Now, some of them grow up hating Texas and they want to be an A&M, Gigamags. I get it. I'm just saying, deep down, that's the place to go. And same with Ohio. Now, that whole region, there's no second fiddle if you're at Ohio. That's it. You're a Buckeye. You can talk about the Zips and the Falcons and these other smaller schools, but that's it, right? It's it. You go to the U, or you go the Ohio State University, or you go to Texas in Austin. That's just the thing to do. All right, Texas' schedule after that big Ohio State game. I hope it's not a trap game, but they got San Diego State. That's a home game. They get UTEP after that, Sam Houston, and then they start their SEC play. They don't have a determination for the exact time or place yet, but that'll be the 27th of September, and that's when SEC starts. Those first 5 games, if they beat Ohio State, I'm expecting them to be undefeated at 5-0 going into that Florida game.
I mean, it's all about the Longhorns, man. Think about last year, that fumble in the 4th quarter by Quinn Ewers and Jake Sawyer taking it all the way back to the house for a touchdown to give Ohio State a 28-14 win. But think about if Texas sticks that ball in the end zone. We might be talking about the Longhorns winning the national championship. They first since 2005 with Vince Young. But I'm excited about the Longhorns because you want to know why? I want to see what Arch Manning does. That's all I want to see. Is he going to be like his grandfather? As I mentioned earlier on our show today, 1968. This guy right here, 8 years old, watching his father debuting for the University of Ole Miss, and people saying, Archie who? Can we say Arch who? Bevo? Texas? The Longhorns? Back to you, Hawk.
Well, They would have already played a top 5 team in Ohio State. And Ohio State's listed number 3 right now. So let's just be safe to say that it'll stay that way for a while. It could change, but I don't think Ohio State's going to drop out of the 5. They'll be their top 3 right now. Then, as I mentioned, the Florida game, Oklahoma, they're nationally ranked right now. They've got Kentucky, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and then they end the last 3 weeks of the season with Georgia, who's nationally ranked right now, Pig Suey, Arkansas, and then A&M, of course, is the last game, which A&M right now is ranked 19th. So they got 5 games right now at the present state where they're going to be playing top 25 teams.
I like it when they come to Athens. Anybody got any tickets when they come to Athens? That's going to be interesting. You're going to see all the millionaires and oil guys from Texas crashing the town of Athens, Georgia. Man, that's going to be interesting. Then bringing Bevo on the field, meeting Uga. I want to see that matchup too.
Yeah, you better watch out if you're Uga. Just watch out. You don't get stepped on. They've done that before. It's been, very recently they've had that. But real quick, I want to look at the depth chart for, let's say, Colin Page, who's a senior. He's a running back. A couple of juniors, Quantavian Wisner. He's the guy that I'm thinking, all right, you're going to give him the ball until he shows that he shouldn't be given the ball. I don't know if he's going to fumble. I don't know if he's going to go the wrong direction. I don't know if he's going to forget the play, but really it's his position right there. Wisner's the guy. And then they got 18 receivers that they could throw to. All of them, they're fast, they're quick, they're tall. One position that I'm really not sure of, Gunnar Helm, who was there last year, their tight end. Now, Gunnar wasn't the best blocking tight end, but he could get down the seam. And that, to me, was a big relief. They've got a couple of different tight ends. They've got a junior named Jack Andres. He's 6'4". He's about 240 pounds. So he's a little bit smaller right now, but everybody else, they're freshmen and sophomores. I think that's a real issue right there for Texas, is their depth at the tight end position. And that could be a factor, Vincent.
Well, when I look at Texas has still got NFL talent all over the place.
They sure do.
I'm not going to worry about them. They reload. They spend good money in the NIL, one of the top schools in the country. Think about this last year. I think they had 13 players drafted. So Texas just reloads now. And I think Coach Sarkisian has that program at a level he really, really imagined when he took the Texas job. And as I said once before, I'm surprised that Coach Herman, Coach Strong, I'm really surprised they couldn't win at Texas. And it was in a weaker conference at the time. And they didn't dominate the Big 12. But we're going to have a hell of a football game come that Saturday, August the 30th against Ohio State. As you said, 12:30, Gus Johnson doing the call. That's going to be the most watched college football game in a long time. And if Texas comes out of that game, as a lot of people are expecting, wins that football game, I guarantee you Arch Manning, Heisman watch, he'd be the player at the top of the list if he has a hell of a football game. So get ready. It's no Manning that's won the Heisman. He wins that game there, and they go on with the schedule you just announced, he's going to have a real good chance of winning the Heisman Trophy this year. And back to you, Mr. LaBelle.
Yeah, as a sophomore, that'd be a real surprise. And then does he leave, right? You remember he redshirted his first year. He was a freshman last year, and now he's only a sophomore. And you can leave after 3 years. So that'll be, does he come back for his junior year? And we're going to have the Manning watch at the end of the season to see whether or not he stays. I'm going to take my talents to South Beach. We'll see. All right, let's move on over. We're going to go to a different conference, and we're also going to go to a different team. Penn State Nittany Lions. Last year, James Franklin's team goes 13-3. I won't say I was surprised with that. I know they're very competitive. I know that they have tremendous aspirations. They work their tails off, but it seems that someone in the Big Ten ends up stepping on their toes. Last year, it was just one team. They go 8-1 in the conference, Vincent, but they're ranked number 2 in the country for a reason. Right now, let's look at their schedule. I don't think it'd be any easier at the beginning. They start with Nevada. That's a home game. Florida International. That'll be another home game. And then Villanova. So they should be 3-0 before they open up really their Big Ten play, and that would be against Oregon And last year they had a big game against them. They ended up losing that game, but that's not till September 27th where they get tested. I just said a few minutes ago how you work a little bit harder if you know that you're a Texas player and you got Ohio State on the other side, or the vice versa of that. I don't know if there's going to be that same intensity for Nevada and Florida International or Villanova for Penn State.
I look at this Penn State team and I think following Penn State football the years of Joe Paul, this is probably the most talented team they've had in school history. And they've had some great talented football teams. 82 national championship team, they had Todd Blackledge, Kenny Jackson, Kurt Warner, Walker Lee Ashley. Then you look at the 86 squad. I think this team is way much talented than the team that upset Miami and won the national championship. They had DJ Dozier, Shane Conklin. But when you're looking at Penn State, I think they got everything you need to win a national championship. And I was very surprised that Coach Franklin got 3 players to come back who are going to be rated high in the NFL 2026 draft as one of the top 50 players in the country. That's their quarterback, Drew Aller, who a lot of people saying could be a top 10 pick. Both of their running backs, Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen, both of them are saying they first-round picks. Then the young man, the defensive end, Mr. Dennis Sutton, I'm going to call him Mr., another high NFL draft pick. So this is a very, very talented Penn State team that only lost 2 players out of their starters. That was Tyler Warren that went first round and Abdullah Carter that went first round. And I'm not going to make no mistake. This is the most talented team they've had in school history. I don't want to hear about the 1917, 1918 with LeVar Arrington that made preseason #1. This team right here has all the makings of winning it all. So, Mr. Franklin, I liked you when you was at Vanderbilt. You talked a lot of noise then, and you got that Vanderbilt program to another level. But I kind of lost disrespect for you a little bit because I didn't know I want to say a backstory about you, how you was very arrogant. So you disrespect my co-host when y'all played Georgia State and you decided to kick a field goal. So you got off my list real quick, baby. And now you at Penn State. It's all like this, baby. You better get to the college football national championship game. Or I think James Franklin might be leaving Penn State to another Happy Valley greener grass. This is a very talented, like I said, this is the best team in school history. All the great players, Jack Ham, I know about that, Bruce Clark, Matt Millen. This squad right here, when you have the whole backfield rated in the top 50 players going into the 2026 NFL draft, and you maybe got the best defensive player in the country, and Dennis Sutton, it don't get no better than that, man. Back to you, Hart.
Yeah, they're loaded. So 3-0 is what we're looking at after they beat Villanova. They got Oregon, which is a number 7 team in the country. UCLA, they got to go out to California for that. Northwestern, then they go to Iowa. After that, they got to go to Ohio State. And obviously, that'll be that one game in the year that if you beat this team, right, you get this taken care of. The rest of the way will be Indiana, Michigan State, Nebraska, and then at Rutgers. All of those are winnable games. Their schedule is incredibly favorable, at least to get them into the playoff. That's what I'm thinking, Vincent. They lose 2 games in that schedule, they'll be shellacked. They'll be tied and feathered. I just don't. I think they have the roster, like you said, and I also think that the schedule is incredibly in their favor this year. With the exception of having to go to Ohio State. We'll see what Ohio State has in just a couple of weeks against Texas. So those are 2 teams that I think that right now the path couldn't be easier for them to get into the playoff and to have a home field advantage, which is basically your initial goal. Get me in. And then if you can get me in at home where we're going to play a game on campus, especially at that place, Happy Valley, I think the writers got it correct when they put Penn State at number 2. Prove me wrong, Penn State. Lose a couple games early and you're done. But everything else, I think they're in the right place at the right time.
If I had to do the voting, I think I would have had Penn State #1. I'm just going to be honest with you, Harper, because of the people they're returning. They're returning all the people that's very special to their program who has a chance Right now, if they would have said, hey, I'm going to leave school and go into the NFL draft, they would have been very wealthy. But they decided to come back, and it was simply because of Coach Franklin. But Coach Franklin, you had some great teams at Penn State over the last few years, but you haven't answered the bell. You had Notre Dame on the ropes last year, and some of the decisions you made, having your quarterback throwing the football in the game tied, that's why the pass got intercepted. That's on you, man. And think about how desperate Penn State was, what they did in the offseason. They got a boatload of money. They went after Ohio State defensive coordinator Jim Knowles. Now he's running the defense. So that's telling me, Coach Franklin, you got everything you need. The team, the squad, but it also tells me this: desperation. You better win this year, baby. That's all I got to say. You better get to the college football playoff championship game. Or to me, it's going to be a disappointment in Happy Valley. Back to you, Mr. LaBelle.
Yeah, unless they have an injury issue, like I said a few moments ago, they've got everything in their favor. All right, Vincent, one final thought here before we go. Are there any significant changes you have? Are you pretty happy with the way things are? At least, do you think they got it right here with the AP initial top 25? I know we won't be talking about it again with any seriousness until probably late October.
I'm just surprised that they didn't have LSU ranked a little higher because they're returning one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Surprised they don't have Alabama a little higher up in the rankings. Alabama, even though the questions at the quarterback position, but man, they got a lot of NFL talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And of course, if I had to say one team that I'm going to take a look at, actually two teams that I want to see do real well and make it to the college football playoffs, South Carolina. I got a lot of respect for Shane Beamer. He has came and turned that program around, and the South Carolina State should be awfully, awfully proud. I didn't really think about Shane Beamer because he was a special teams coach throughout his career, but you enlightened me. Hey, they know everything from every aspect of coaching football. And of course, it's SMU all the way back, baby. The Pony Express. And I'm cheering for R.J. Maryland, one of the better tight ends in the country. I hope he stays healthy because his father is Russell, 3-time Super Bowl champion with the Dallas Cowboys. And I know his grandfather is watching from Ruston, Louisiana, who was a hell of a baseball player back in the day for Southern University. He was Lou Brock's roommate. That's all I have to say. Back to you, Mr. LaBelle.
Well, there you have it, folks. You got a lot of different things that you need, some key ingredients that are a part of putting together the type of team that gets the respect of the writers all around the country, the other coaches, obviously the fans, and the networks that are involved with it all. And recruiting is a super part of that. And if you have the right recruiting tools in front of you and your business, you know how important that is as well. If you get too many resumes and there aren't enough candidates, you don't have the right skill sets, you don't have the right experience level, that can be an issue. But not with ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter finds the most amazing and talented candidates for you, and they do it very fast. It's a quick process. ZipRecruiter's technology helps to identify the top talents and help get them to you quickly. They also help you connect with the top candidates based on their resumes, the wants and needs that you have, and what they're capable of doing. You can ditch all the other hiring sales sites. Get rid of them. You don't need them. Let ZipRecruiter be the one that helps find what you are looking for, that needle in the haystack, that perfect recruit that'd be just right to be a part of your team. 4 out of 5 employers who use ZipRecruiter have a quality candidate within the very first day. It can be free. You can try it exclusively if you go to ZipRecruiter.com/audio, AUDIO. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/audio. It's the smartest way to hire. We want you to be the smartest fan that's out there. So we spent an hour with you talking a little bit about the AP Top 25 and the NCAA rankings that have come out this week. We know there'll be some changes in the next month or so, but we want to give you some perspective on our opinions of what they've done. We agree with just about everything. There might be a switch in 1 or 2 of the teams that are there, but nothing real big. We're excited that the season is about ready to get started. Vincent, final thoughts.
Hey, excited, man, to get the college football season going. A lot of great games, a lot of great players. Hey, it's the time of year to buckle down, man, and get ready to watch some very good football this year on the college level. And I love that the NCAA expanded the college playoffs from 4 teams to 12, and I hope they expanded to 16. And my final words this evening, of course, I got to give kudos to my school. I'm wishing you good luck, head coach Sam Pittman, up there in the hill in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Call the Hogs this year, man. Pig suey. Back to you, Mr. LaBelle.
Well, there you have it, folks. So look at the early teams that are highly ranked. The schedules begin playing as early as Saturday, August 23rd. That's just a few days from now. We look forward to it. There's the 23rd, the 28th, the Friday, the 29th. I know that most colleges don't like to interfere with Friday football, but this year there's going to be about 8 or 10 games that take place on that Friday, on the 29th of August, and then Saturday, the 30th of August. That's when it all begins, and it starts at noon with Texas at Ohio State. We've looked at that and so many other different teams and some of the important games that they have. We appreciate you being a part of it. We want to thank you for being with 100 Yards of Football. This has been our college football preview. The AP 25 is out, and we wanted to go over that with you. So for Logan Landers, for Vincent Turner, I'm Harper LaBelle saying have a fantastic day, everybody. We appreciate you being a part of the show.